If it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Take 2 on this one. Take 3. I don't know what it is. I think we got the audio working here. I sound good?
Yeah, it sounds better.
All right. The audience might differ. But, all right. We got this organized. And I tell you what, we take Joshua's job for granted. He hasn't been around helping with this part of it, so we're doing it ourselves now. And it's a lot harder than it looks. A lot harder than it seems. So anyways, I'm Mike Charleston, and we are joined with Chuck.
Hey, glad to be back.
And yeah, Chuck is back. So it's been a little while.
I
had to reintroduce ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, Chuck's been away and been sick, and then we've been traveling. So just one of those things.
Yep.
But we are back. So but yesterday we all went to a funeral and for a friend of ours.
Yeah.
And she passed away last week. And so it was a good funeral. And but yeah, so it was good.
Yeah.
It was good to be there.
It was good.
Yeah, so we're all kind of dragging a little bit today because it was a road trip.
Oh, it was more than just a road trip. We ended up, because it was like 3 hours away from our house, and we had to be back here for a Bible Bee meeting, and people didn't leave till about 11:30. And you went to Alexandria after,
I went out to
then
Alexandria and
came back about midnight. So it's late. So if we're a little bit draggy and it's hot. So anyways, we'll get there. Mm-hmm. So today's subject, we're going to be talking about what, babe?
We're going to talk about discipleship.
Discipleship and
The Christian buzzword.
A Christian buzzword. That is for
Is
sure.
that? Yep.
I'm not going to get used to these numbers. The numbers are out of order. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're out of order.
Okay, well.
But we'll figure it out. So discipleship, if you look in the Bible, it's the term discipleship is not in there that much.
It's not in there at all. The actual word discipleship.
Well, if you use the King James Bible. I mean, it's
Right.
in there in some of the other translations, especially in Matthew 28, the verse we're going to be sharing here in just a second, going to all the nations and preach the gospel and teach all nations, is what the King James says. In other ones, make disciples.
Make disciples.
Right.
And so we're not going to quibble with that too much, but it's just not, the word in there isn't in there very much, but the concept obviously is in there. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit, and the difference between just being a disciple and church attendance in general. So we have a problem in America today where we have a lot of apathy in Christianity, in our walk with the Lord, and just about anything really. And we feel like because of the way the church is designed, and I know I keep pounding this drum, but it's true. The way the church is designed, it is designed to just show up and just do your duty as a Christian, is to just have church attendance, show up, and make the roll.
Well, that's the Christian thing to do, is to go to church. So you get your family up and you go to church every week, and you feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. But is that enough? Is that enough? So that's kind of the question is that enough, is just showing up for church? And can you become a disciple of Christ by just going to church? Partly. I mean, that's part of it.
It is part of it, yeah.
You need I'm sorry. I went to itch my head and I left it on Chuck, sorry.
Well, at least I didn't see you hit your head.
So, that is part, showing up and meeting with other believers is important. It's very important. And but to get some of the teachings and the actual disciple. So why don't you go ahead into your questions and things? You have some things that you want to talk about.
Okay, so first question is, we talk about discipleship. So what does discipleship look like? And I was wondering, like, if you, Chuck, or you have ever been part of a discipleship program?
Discipleship program. Okay, so what about you,
So
Chuck?
we're going to programs first?
Well, sure.
Yeah, well, I just,
I have been a part of a discipleship program. Growing up in a Baptist church, we have this whole concept in the Baptist church of what used to be called training union, and then it was discipleship training is what it became, and it was this concept of you have Sunday school in the AM service, and you have this other in the evening, which is kind of supposed to bring that about. It's still not something that really brings about disciples. It's more. It is more focused on Bible study, which I think is part of it and is good. But there again, it's another program. It's something that's a limited time slot. each week.
Yeah.
So it has its own, its benefits and its own shortcomings.
Yeah, I mean, part of discipleship is Bible teaching.
Right.
And so we're not going to, say that that's irrelevant or unimportant. It's very important. But there is a difference between indoctrination and discipleship. And so being a disciple, when we look at the disciples, the example of the disciples, you see that they lived with Jesus and they saw Jesus all the time. Mm-hmm. They saw him in his daily life. And that is important. The way the church is structured makes it very difficult for disciples, just because, I know I beat this drum all the time, but you have the show. You come to watch, and you come not to participate. You come to
consume.
Yeah, you come to consume. The pastor is the main player. The worship leader is the main player, and then you get information. It's an info dump, basically, and then you go home. You go out to eat first, and then you go home, and that's it. And maybe they have a Bible study, like a Sunday school, like you were talking about. Maybe they have a program, like go through a workbook. Like when I was become a member of my church, we had to go through all these different steps, and you had to agree with their teachings. And then they were like, okay, then you can join our discipleship programs, where it's basically Bible study, which is fine. I mean, it's important for us to learn the Bible. But okay, go ahead.
Well, I
heard that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I understand that, I think many churches have good intentions, and they see the problem of, many people get saved and they're committed to coming, and yet, that they need a lot more in order to understand how to live a Christian life. And so churches will come up with programs. All right, let's do a discipleship program so we can teach these people. And I get it. It's going to start with the Bible. You're going to start with, teaching doctrine and why we believe what we believe. And I think that's very important. And so, I mean, it's just, to me, it's a much bigger problem when you have, some of these churches have thousands of people and you need to disciple them all.
That's impossible.
Yeah, you can't do that because the way we've designed the system. And so then we have so many Christians that truly aren't disciples,
No, in the church I grew up in, we had the Each One, Reach One program.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So the Each One, Reach One. And the concept was that it's my responsibility to go and reach one. But it's my responsibility also to kind of disciple them too, to help them. Right. The only problem is a lot of people don't know how to do that. Yeah. So it was you had to have the leadership teach people how to do this, and it ended up just turning into a big program of Bible study. And once again, I'm not poo-pooing Bible study, and that's very vital. It's one of the more important ones, but not more important, because I think lifestyle and example is what is a disciple. And so your theology has to meet somewhere. It has to show itself in a place. And so if you're just getting knowledge and you're getting theology and you're regurgitating information, but it doesn't work in your practical life, then you haven't learned anything. You have to be able to show what you've learned. So you can sit in a classroom and learn about forgiveness. But then if you go home and you can't forgive your wife, what is the point of the program? So you need examples of people that have gone through things and how they've dealt with this thing. And we've talked about a number of people that we've seen, and even in our own lives in some ways, but there's just there's not a lack of information.
Right.
There's a lack of follow through, and so many people have that lack of follow through where I can learn about justification. I can learn about forgiveness. I can learn about loving one another. And then when the first, thing happens, they refuse to work things out. They refuse to deal with the issues. And there's no love. There's no forgiveness. There's no grace. There's no mercy. And it's like, well, where are these concepts that we were learning in Bible study, in Sunday school, and in discipleship programs? How does that work? Because in real life, it's hard sometimes.
It is, but I know you say there's no lack of information, that you have these programs that are supposed to help disciple people. That's the goal. But I believe with modern Christianity, the focus has shifted from discipleship, actually having someone and teaching them how to develop a relationship with God and with other people, to accepting Jesus, which is a term that doesn't exist in the Bible.
Right.
Okay. Now, sure, that's the foundation. Salvation is the foundation, but that becomes, 90% of the focus of what our churches are teaching today, that other 10% doesn't have a lot to pull into. It's
Right.
just we don't
Just get
see
saved.
the follow. Yeah, just get saved, and that's the end all, and that's not at all pleasing to God.
Yeah.
I was a little late on that. Ding. Absolutely. So,
So I have a somewhat of a definition, but I have discipleship is the refining process by which a Christian becomes more like Jesus. That's big. That's a lot.
well, and that's a lifelong
Right.
deal. Like I'm currently a disciple of Christ, and hopefully in 10 years I'll be a disciple of Christ, and I'm always going to be a disciple of
Right.
Christ, because that refining process never stops.
Exactly.
I'm always growing, I'm always learning, and I'm developing experience, and that's what we're going to be talking a bit today in Romans, in fact. But the grace of God is always working in my life, and I'm always learning things about myself, about the people around me, and how to learn to deal with that. And there's always going to be tribulation. There's always going to be a problem. And how do I exercise? It's not like, I learned about love and that's it. Now I'm done.
Right.
No, you got to exercise that.
So, I mean, you mentioned we're going to be learning about that in Romans today. We are going to be in Romans chapter 5. And the first verse in Romans chapter 5 tells us that we're justified by faith.
Yep,
And then it
absolutely.
follows up and says faith gives us access to God.
Yeah.
That's where I think we fail. We're not seeking that access.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's a good point, because part of discipleship, the onus is on me. Like, I have to want to pursue God. Like, I want to, like, I got saved, and I know that the Bible the teachings in the church kind of hinder that somewhat. Just get saved and let's just keep you in the church. The programs are good, but it's like I need to pursue Jesus on
Yeah,
my own.
that's
I have
exactly-
to want to pursue Christ for myself, and no matter what programs are in place, I have to be that. Now, I have a different view of church leadership. I don't think church leadership has anything to do with being a good preacher. That might be a good part of it. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Good teachers or preachers, they should be apt to teach and all that, but they don't have to be a good preacher. We were just reading a stat yesterday that 86% of people, something like that, 95% of stats are made up, but it was 80-some plus percent that choose a church based on the preacher's ability to preach. Not knowing the character of the person, not knowing the leadership structure, not knowing the whatever. They just want a good preacher. But a church leader, according to the scriptures, is someone that has a good example in their life, that have been faithful, who has raised their kids well, who loves their wives, who has been through things and is a good example.
Yeah.
And we have some verses that we're going to share on that in just a second. But that is the main point of a leader, is to be an example,
Right.
not to be a preacher. Anybody can preach.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah, I
someone
agree
who
with
just
you.
got saved can preach.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you. That's, I used to think whenever we would, when I was in the Baptist church, that, you could either have a preacher
Right.
or you could have a pastor. And if you
Yes.
got both, you got really, really, really something good.
Yes, right.
But if you give me the option of a preacher or a pastor, meaning somebody who's going to actually truly come alongside and show
Right.
a lifestyle that's going to be something to say, hey, follow me,
Right.
I'd much rather have the pastor and wane on the preaching.
Yeah, so because, like we said, anybody can get up and preach. If you have a good church, a normal biblical church, it's not about preaching.
Right.
A new convert can get up and share what's on their heart and what God's revealing to them, and that is good, and we encourage that.
Yeah.
But that's not where church growth happens. Church growth happens within the leadership, where they're showing people, hey, this is the way to live. This is a good way to live. This is how you walk faithfully. This is how you show grace. This is how you live in a world that is surrounding you where it's anti-God, and this is how you live like this. And I grew up with people in my life that were older that I looked up to, and not so much anymore, because most of them are my age at this point. The old people are dying away, and but so I want to be that example for the younger generation, that, hey, I could be someone that you can emulate. Now, ultimately, we want to emulate Christ.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13, 1.
11.
I knew there was a
So
1 in there.
close, so close.
But 1 Corinthians 13, 11, where it says, follow me as I...
Oh, 11.
11:1.
Well, Okay, 11:1.
Anyway, it says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ."
Right, and that is kind of I'm not that I want to bring followers of myself.
Right.
I just, because I'm wanting to follow Christ, hey, now follow my example.
We
And-
should live a life that can be what we say.
Yes, and then you have the other verse where it says, mark those in Philippians.
Yeah, Philippians 3:17 says, "Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as ye have us for an example."
So, Paul wasn't afraid of saying, follow my example. And in fact, we're supposed to look at those people that are doing well and follow their example.
Yeah.
So yes, they're going to be teaching Bible doctrine. They're going to be teaching things that are in the scriptures. But more importantly is, how do I conduct myself? How do I live my life and follow their example? Because that's really, as my youth pastor said, more is caught than taught.
Yes.
Yep.
And we look at our parents. We can try as parenting. Look, none of us are perfect, but
Right.
our kids see us on a daily basis. That is true discipleship right there. And they see us how we live behind the scenes, when
Yeah.
we're tired, when we're frustrated, when we're angry, when we're not, when we're lazy. They see us, and so they're saying, "Well, you're saying something like this over here, but you're not really living it over here," and that's very humbling.
Yeah.
And
Well, no, I think parenting is a great way for us to look at discipleship, because I think many parents, you try to you want to teach your kids the Bible. So it's like, okay, well, when they're young, you read them Bible stories, we memorize verses, and we try to put everything in their heads for them to be Christians,
Right.
for them to know Christ. And that's great, and we should do that. But even more so than just teaching them, Bible doctrine or Bible verses or stories or whatever, they're watching us.
Yes.
They're watching everything we do. They're watching how we interact with each other. They're watching how we respond to them when, they're not doing what's right.
Yep,
They're
and you
watching
can see it
everything.
sometimes.
Yeah.
They're like a mirror, and you're like, oh boy, I got some work to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like it's the same way in the church is, it's fine to teach, discipleship programs and teaching through doctrines and teaching why we believe what we believe is great. But what's even more important is watching how you live your
Well,
life.
and the problem is, so we were talking about earlier, the difference between indoctrination and discipleship. So indoctrination is just an info dump, and it depends on what church you're at. If you're a Baptist, they're going to teach you Baptist theology. If you're
Yeah.
a Presbyterian, they're going to teach you Presbyterian theology. If you're Assemblies of God, they're going to teach you Assemblies of God theology. And they want you to agree with their statement of belief. Well, that's just natural. I get that. I understand that. But that's indoctrination. And the Catholics did a good job of that. Like, hey, you're going through the Catholic school, here's the catechism, until it's just, they don't even know what they're saying. They're just repeating answers. And but discipleship is a lifelong lived, following Christ.
Yeah.
And so that's a big difference, is that, are we teaching people how to study the Bible for themselves? Are we teaching people how to follow Christ for themselves? Because I can't live your
Right.
life for you.
No, it's a good example of that. Is we all homeschool.
Yep.
And we have programs that we use, that
Sure.
curriculum that we'll follow to actually
Yeah.
teach a subject matter to our children, and it's a help. But and the reality is, what we're imparting to them comes from within us. What they
Right.
get from us, what they're going to see from us. You can't just take this information, give it to them, and expect them then to be able to develop the character
Right.
that you want, to
Yeah.
have a lifestyle, a biblical worldview. You don't get that through any type of curriculum, and that's the same thing I think within the church. You can use the tools that are available if there's something that you want to follow, to actually disciple someone. But they're going to get is what they're going to get whenever there's an issue that comes up and how you respond to that issue, and they're going to learn that from you. So it's like you say, it's a lifestyle. Our kids aren't getting their lifestyle from looking at us and what's good and what's bad. Hopefully taking the good and losing the bad.
Right. Right.
Hopefully.
No way.
Oh, wrong one. I thought this was the way. No way. Yeah, I should read that a little bit better. This is the way. This is this is the way this is how we even start this in Deuteronomy. And I know we don't have this verse, but the Jews, they call this the Shema, in the Deuteronomy 6:1 through whatever, where "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one." And then it says, "Teach these things to your children, and as you walk by the way, so this is sometimes our discipleship programs are compartmentalized. And we're like, okay, we're going to discipleship program right now. Okay, we're going to get discipled. No, your whole life is a disciple. And so it's like whenever I have a problem, I don't know what to do. Let me call some people in the church or friends of mine or people that are older than me. Let me get some advice. Let me see what I can do. That's part of discipleship is like, okay, I've been here before. You don't have to walk this alone. You can do this. Now, the other problem is, and we skipped over this real quickly, is back in Acts. And I think we have a big problem of this in today's Christianity, is people that are getting disciples after themselves. And this is a heart check. You can't necessarily see it. Of course, in the big mega churches, I think you can see it a little bit. But Paul is, in Acts 20, he is getting the elders together in Ephesus, and he's warning them, because he's going to be leaving, and he's going to depart. And he's warning them of what's going to happen, that people are going to come in and mess things up, basically.
Yep.
And so this is what he says.
So verse 29 and 30 says, "For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them."
Right. So their focus is speaking perverse things, which we can point out a number of things around the country and the world where people are perverting the gospel of Christ. But they are getting disciples for themselves. And we see that a lot, and it's kind of disturbing, and I hate when we say this, like, who's discipled you, or he's a disciple of so-and-so. And I get what they're trying to say. You know, I sat under his teaching. You know, John MacArthur just passed away. Right. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, he discipled me. You didn't know him at all. How in the world could he disciple you? He indoctrinated you maybe, or he had good teachings. And, you know, there's a couple of teachers that I like to listen to, but in no way did they disciple me because they don't know me. Right. There's no relationship there. You have to have a relationship in order to have a, you know, be in discipleship or whatever. You know, you have to have a relationship there.
Yeah. Well, I think about, like, I mean, I was raised in church and going to, you know, I was raised in a Christian school too, so you have Bible class every day and chapel every week.
You were super Christian.
No, I wasn't. But anyway, and I mean, all of those things are, you know, there was a lot of good in a lot of that. But I will say the thing that was probably the most effective, I would say, in discipling me was I went to my youth pastor's house like many times a week because I'd help with his kids.
Sure.
But I saw him in his home and how he acted to his wife, how he acted to his kids. I'd see him, you know, studying the Bible. I'd see him, you know, just singing and worshiping God and whatever. And it's like I saw how he lived at home.
Right.
And that, I would say, had a much bigger impact than, I mean, he taught me the Bible too. I had him for Bible class, and, you know, he was the youth pastor, so I'd hear him preach, and all of that was good, but I will say the most effective thing was seeing how he lived his life. And I'm like, wow. And he, you know, some things that he did differently, I'm like, wow, why do you do that? And so I wanted to know, like, tell me.
That's interesting because, you know, I think youth pastors are overrated. I think they set people up for failure.
They can,
in a lot of ways. But it's interesting you say that because if I look back in my life, I also would say the same thing. I had a youth pastor who was probably my greatest mentor at a particular point in my life.
Here. How about that?
And it's you know, it's interesting that my view on youth pastors is
we all have a bad view.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times they don't work out well. But it's interesting that for us in each case, it was somebody who really did sit down and disciple. You know, actually pointed us in a direction and helped us along the way.
Well, part of it is, and I you're going to have a quote from me because I said it, and I was like, I don't know how I said it, but you typed it down. But I'm going to make a bold statement about pastors, and you got it right there, right?
I didn't actually write it, but yes, I know it. But
okay, why don't you say it then?
You said that.
Because I don't remember what I say.
If you haven't gone to your pastor's house to, you know, spend time with him, to eat with him, or he hasn't been to your house, then he's not your pastor.
That's right. Yeah, that's a bold statement, and but that's what I'm saying is one of the qualifications of an elder of a church is to be hospitable, and one of the reasons I believe is because you see how he lives. You can see, okay, he's not gaudy, he's not living a rich life, you know, he's very humble. Oh, I see how because when people are at home, they relax a little bit. They're not putting on their mask as much. And maybe the first time you go over, so you got to be at you got to be at these people's houses more than once. And you see them in their relaxed state and who they really are. And it's one thing to get on stage anybody can get on stage and pretend to be someone special.
Yep.
And we have seen it through our whole lives where people they can be dynamic speakers, but behind the scenes they're ravenous wolves.
Yep.
They're deception. They're deceiving people, and because their lifestyle is a wreck. And that is the one qualification that is a big deal to me in a minister is, are they hospitable? Do they have a good reputation with outsiders? Do they show themselves well outside of church? You know, because it's easy to be a Christian on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
You know, but what about the example? Kind of like and I think the one good thing you said, and I'm glad you said it, was the parents are a good example. But you need to have other people in your life other than your parents that have the example, because kids will be like, yeah, my parents are just weird. You know, they're
All
crazy.
parents are weird.
That's right. That's right. But it's like, I had my parents as an example. My youth pastor, though, was a good example. You know, there were other people, youth leaders. We had youth leaders that we would go over to their houses at times, and they would talk to us, and they would, encourage us as teens and older teens in our 20s and things like that. Even a professor at Bible college, took me under his wing. And I went to his house a number of times and spoke with his wife and his kids. How many of you have spoken with your pastor's wife and kids?
Yeah, that's
that's an important thing of discipleship.
Yeah, one of the things that I look back and I remember from my in-laws, my wife's mom and dad, every pastor that ever came through the church, somebody was speaking a revival, they would always invite them to dinner.
Oh wow!
I mean, always. It was just
Wow.
it was just an old thing that they were going to get invited over for dinner at some point. So you're bringing those people in your home,
Yes.
and you're right. That makes
Yeah.
a huge difference in getting to know somebody whenever you're actually sitting down, having a conversation, having a meal with them.
No.
Well, it can get personal too, because we had a story one time where me and a friend were youth pastoring at a church in Minnesota, and the pastor, one of the pastors on staff there, invited us over to their house because we were living in Minneapolis and we're traveling, and so we didn't have anywhere to go between services. And so she's like, "You can come over to our house." And so I went over to their house. Me and my friend stayed in a room, and we saw one of our youth kids, her son. And we saw his stack of CDs and all his music, and hardly any of it.
That's right.
Yeah, hardly any of it was Christian. It was a very, very worldly music. And I'm like, whatever, that's your call. So we just challenged him. You listen to what you want to listen to, but it was just like, when all you're feeding your mind with is AC/DC and Metallica and Guns N' Roses and, this type of stuff, it's going to affect you.
Yep.
It's, whatever. I get it, the pressures of this world, and you want to be cool somewhat. So we just kind of brought that up to him, and, well, the mom and dad did not like that.
Oh, really?
Oh, they kicked us out. And
That's interesting.
So it was not good. So there is that's the thing. When you get into someone's house, you do get to see them on a different perspective, and that can help or it can hurt sometimes. And we were young, and we maybe we should have done it a little bit more subtly, and maybe brought that stuff up and not immediately, hey, come in here, what's all this stuff, and we're not their mom and dad,
True.
but we should have been a better example in that way. But hey, I was 19, what am I supposed to do? But anyway, what else do we have there?
Well, I think you touched on this earlier, but I think it's important to recognize that discipleship is ongoing.
Yes.
Like, I think sometimes, as we get older, it's like, okay, well now, I was discipled. Now I'll disciple all those younger than me, which I should do, and I think that we have an obligation to pour our lives into people that are newer to the faith or younger or whatever. And I know some older people are like, well, I don't know because I'm not perfect and whatever. I'm like, well, no, people need examples,
Right, that's not the point. Right.
So, I think that's good. But the thing is, I'm never going to graduate until I die.
Right.
It's not like I'm ever done. I'm still maturing. I'm still being more and more conformed to the image of Christ. Hopefully, that's the
Right.
goal. So, I think we never reach perfection till we die. And we need to
all in
remember
the same
that.
boat.
Yeah.
It's just some of us are maybe ahead because we're older.
Right.
There's some
Hopefully
people
more
that are more
mature.
mature that are younger, but it's that concept where the follow me as I follow Christ, I'm
Yeah.
still following Christ.
Yeah.
I haven't arrived.
Yeah.
And so we're still growing in the grace of God together.
Yeah.
But it is that aspect of this is an ongoing journey. It's not like, okay, you're joining our 6-week program and then it's over. No, it's a continuing process.
And it's an interesting thing, something I've been pondering, learning a little more about is, the concept that you come to Christ, you actually have the foundation of salvation, and if you actually then begin to pursue and seek after God and want to know more about Him, you never end.
Right.
There is no
Yeah.
end to knowing
Yeah.
God. You spend the rest of your life getting to know Him. And that's just, the book I've been listening to is that he says that, Moses actually saw that and said, he knew God,
Yes.
he walked with God.
Yeah.
And he said, make me to where I can know you.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, you're with him. How do you, but he's still after. It's like it's never ending until
Yes.
we actually are face to face with him, and then we're known as we know him as we are known. It's
Yeah.
like this is just unbelievable.
No,
You never
he's-
can end.
Yeah.
He's inscrutable. So it's like this is a never-ending journey. And if you think you've arrived, you're in a bad place, probably.
Pretty
So
much.
it's-
Well,
it's-
and I know as you get older, it's like we're always told to look for those older people who are walking in the faith. And I get it. At some point, there's not anybody older anymore. I'm not there yet.
you are the
but-
old person.
But I think we also can learn. To me, it's cool to learn from young people, and when you see them growing, and it's like, wow, it makes me rethink things that I thought before.
That's a good thing, because as you get older, you're going through the motions sometimes, because I've done this before 15 times. I've gone over Romans I don't know how many times, but like last week or 2 weeks ago, even my own kids, raised in my own house, and have heard us. But we haven't actually officially gone through Romans verse by verse with the younger ones in a long time. And so they're at that age where they're hearing something and they're like, oh, they're hearing it in context, because they've heard snippets here and there. And they had some very interesting questions. And I'm like, you've been part of the Bible Bee, you've been in our house, how do you not know this stuff? And I'm like, no, it's exciting for me to like hear that, because they are learning.
Yeah, because they're
And-
questioning.
Yes.
They're actually
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
absolute.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
That aspect of it is continual too, and
Yep.
so it's good for us, because it's like, oh, they don't know this, and they
Yeah.
need to know this, and so it encourages you to keep going and keep teaching, because you can easily get bored and be like, what's the point? Everybody knows this already. We're just
Yeah.
going to recycle the same things until Joshua asks an important question. You're like, oh, wow, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you asked that question. So, anyways, like, what can you do about these things? You're like, well, I'm part of a church, and look, you're not going to change the church. The church has its programs. The church has this thing, what they're going to do, So it can be discouraging. But all I would say is like, hey, if you're out there reaching people for the Lord, take them. Disciple them yourself, like have them over, invite them over, study the Bible together constantly. We did that with your brother early on, and I feel like I messed him up. But we weren't afraid to bring him in our house and show him how we lived, the good, the bad, Sometimes there wasn't good days. It wasn't always spiritual time, It was just basic talking, or sometimes I'd play a game with them or something like that. But it was showing him that I cared. We'd bring him over, eat with him, and and incorporated him in our life. That's tough to do. That's a burden sometimes, but it's well worth it. So don't wait for your church to have any programs or whatever. Find someone in your church that's younger or something like that, and say, hey, come on over. You don't have to like, hey, do you want me to disciple you?
Right.
That's nonsense. Just go up and say, hey, you want to come over? Start once a week or something like that, and just go through the Bible, start talking. What do you think about these things? And get where they are, and just encourage them. And that's a good start.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say, at least.
Yeah.
So I go back to the point of homeschooling. Whenever we're teaching our children, we follow in a particular curriculum or subject or whatever. My goal in homeschooling has always been to equip my children how to learn, and then give them a desire to love to learn.
Absolutely.
And I think discipleship is in the same thing. You actually, the beginning, you actually help someone understand how to know more about God, and then hopefully be able to encourage a desire in them to know God.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way to end it, because that's a good segment ender. So, all right, thanks, Chuck, Sarah. We'll be right back.
Mike Charleston Show.
All right. Well, we are here with Elisabeth. There she is. Yeah, she's got her Japanese thing in the back of her head, and she's going to Japan in a few months. And excited about that?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So okay, there we go. So we got a game here. It's just a trivia game.
Trivia based on disciples.
Because we're talking about discipleship, so you're going to be like, hey, we're going to talk about the disciples.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I got to change cameras. Okay. So, okay. And we got this one. Getting ready. Okay.
All right.
What do we got?
All right. So
you know what? We don't have music, but we'll have to add that in post, I guess.
Yeah. First question is, which disciple's name means a twin? Philip, Thomas, Thaddeus, or Matthew?
I knew this at one point because somehow we looked it up. For some reason, a twin came up, and we were like, oh, wow. What were they, a twin? Okay, what are the options again?
Philip, Thomas, Thaddeus, or Matthew?
It's Thomas.
I was going to say, I wonder if it's Thomas because my grandson is Thomas, and we were looking it up. You know it's Thomas?
I'm fairly confident.
Oh,
on that
this is his final answer. We're going to say Thomas.
It's Thomas.
Yes, okay. Bing, we got that one.
Okay. Which disciple is listed last in every biblical list of the 12?
Wow.
one. Listed last.
That's unfortunate.
Simon the Zealot, Bartholomew, Judas Iscariot, or James the Less?
Okay, well, my immediate thing I'd like to say is Judas
That's
Iscariot.
not it.
You don't think it is? But, okay, what are the other?
Simon the Zealot, Bartholomew, James the Less.
Well, maybe it's James the Less because he was in there less.
I'm thinking James the Less.
James the Less, just because it's James the Less. I don't think it's James the Less because I think he's in there in the middle on some of them. But I think it's Judas Iscariot because I think he's at one time, he's at the end, and it's all the times?
Every time.
Every
Okay,
time.
well, we can do that.
But that seems like the easy answer.
It does, but
Okay,
sometimes simple's good.
I'm saying Judas. You're saying
I'm
James
still
the Less.
going with James the Less.
He's going with James the Less. Okay, what is it?
It's Judas Iscariot.
Hey!
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, okay, good.
All right. Who were the only disciples present at the Transfiguration?
Oh, okay, well, that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was John and...
There are
What's
options.
the other one?
Peter, James, and John.
Peter, James, and John.
The three.
Yes.
Peter, James,
Yeah.
and John.
Yep.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Yes, got it.
Okay. Who is the only disciple, apart from Judas Iscariot, specifically referred to as not understanding the prophecy of Jesus' death?
Oh, the only other one. I thought he was referring to a number of them, but...
Options?
Okay, yeah, option. I mean, I have a thought. My first thought is Peter, but go ahead. What's
Okay.
the options?
There's Thomas, Peter, Philip, or John.
Okay, so my guy was on that list.
Yes, he was.
And I think there was a time, because he was like, around the time where Jesus said, get thee behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
And he was like, the crucifix, he was like, no, this will
He
never happen.
He definitely displayed the lack of understanding. I don't know if he
Right.
got it. Well,
Who's
he
the
was
other
denying
options?
him the night of. So
Thomas,
that was-
Peter, Philip, or John.
Well, Thomas doubted, but that was after
Yeah,
the fact. Philip?
Yeah.
We don't know much about Philip. What was the other one?
John.
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 I'm going to say Peter.
Peter.
I'm going to say Peter.
Oh yeah, it's Peter.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes, we got it. Yep, we got it.
Baby steps.
Yes, we got it.
Who said,
Baby
Lord,
step.
to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life.
Oh, I know
Oh,
this
it was-
one. It's a good song.
John, Philip, Peter, or Andrew?
It was Peter, yeah, right?
I think it's Peter.
Yep, it's Peter.
Yes,
Yeah.
Peter.
Peter.
Yep. That's a good song too.
Who asked Jesus at the Lord's Supper, Lord, how is it that thou wilt manifest thyself unto us and not unto the world? Thomas, Judas, not Iscariot, James, or Andrew?
That's a good question. So, say that. What did he say?
Lord, how is it that thou wilt manifest thyself unto us and not unto the world?
That sound okay. The options. It sounds like Thomas, but what's the other options?
Thomas, Judas, not Iscariot,
No.
James, and Andrew.
Could be
I'm thinking Andrew.
Andrew.
I'm thinking
Well, I'm getting the
Andrew.
Chosen mixed up because that would be something Andrew would say in the Chosen, right?
Yeah, it would be. But
So,
sometimes they're right. No.
yeah, I know. So it's either Andrew or what was the first
Thomas.
one? Yeah,
Thomas.
Thomas or Andrew. If so, this was the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We do the 50-50.
Yeah.
And I would think it'd be those two. What do you think?
I'm leaning more towards Andrew.
You thinking Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with Andrew this time.
No, it is not. No, it's Judas, not Iscariot.
Really?
Wow,
Yeah.
that one's wow. I didn't think he spoke in the Bible.
I didn't-
That's like the only thing he says.
Okay, that's the only thing.
Wow. Okay.
That's why we didn't think he spoke.
Well, we learn something new every time. Okay.
How about
And that was the last question.
That's the last
right.
question. Okay, so yeah, I think we got 9 out of 10.
Yeah, you
Or
got
all of them but one.
all of them but one.
All of them
Yep.
but one. Well, Chuck missed one or two.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, thank you. I think hope we learned something. Some of the
Yeah.
disciples. Judas, not Iscariot.
Judas, not Iscariot.
What is his real name? Do you know?
Just Judas.
Okay. But I thought in another verse they called him Judas something else. But
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Elisabeth. Yeah. Okay.
Music with Sarah.
What song do you like?
Alrighty, babe. This is the song of the weekend. I don't think I'm mic on. There we go. My mic's on. I muted the wrong one. This is the song of the week, and so let me go ahead and start playing it here. And so we've been hearing. I like this song.
Yeah.
This is one that I found. No, this is not, I'm not going to get credit for this one. Sarah wants me to find more songs, and I'm like, well, I like this one. So anyway, what is it called?
This song is called What He's Done by Passion Christian Stanfield. Came out in 2022, so it's a rather recent song. But I actually came across it last year, and I know sometimes you talk about songs and like certain songs take you back to certain places
Sure.
or, you know, memories attached to it. And I remember last year I had taken the kids to Orlando for the National Bible Bee, and I was there, and I had gotten up early and gone to the gym to walk on the treadmill or whatever. And so I was walking, and I had my earbuds in, and somehow this song came up. I don't know, I didn't pick it, but it came up and it started playing, and I was just like, wow. And I just kept playing and playing. I had to repeat,
Right.
and I was just like, wow, because the point of the song is obviously to talk about what he's done.
Yep.
It talks about what he did on the cross and what he's done for us. And I love songs about what he's done. You know,
Yep.
so many songs we can talk about.
It's about us.
Yeah, and I get it, you know, like I'm going to sing about my heart towards God too, but it's sometimes good just to like stop and like, let's look at what he's done.
Yes.
And that makes you really happy. And so, you know, it's just like, I don't know, it just to me was just such a good reminder and something I like to sing. And this week it's like just been in my head all week. So I'm like, I got to go with it. 'cause
Yeah, I mean, when you listen to it, and you might hear it in the background, it starts out very simple, and it is
Yeah.
a simple song. All it is a piano and guitar.
Yeah.
But it slowly builds with the crowd singing in the background. It feels like a camp.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And it's just a simple chorus.
Yeah.
Let me switch to me. It's just a simple chorus, but so anybody can learn it pretty quickly. And a lot of it is just true. I mean, like what he's done.
Yeah.
You know, our sins are forgiven, and
My future is heaven.
yeah.
And I think, I mean, if there's something that, you know, I think one of the greatest things about getting together with other believers is to talk about what he's done.
Yes.
And I feel like
That's kind of the point.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so encouraging when we're around each other. It's like, you know what, let's just share what God's done in our lives. What has he done? Talk about, you know, times where, you know, you really felt like you were at a low spot and he came through, or, you know, just, I don't know. I just think it's a great thing to remind ourselves what he's done. And so y'all should go listen to this song.
You should. And this the one that we're playing, because there's a few different versions.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and This
versions.
one's the stripped down model. I mean, this
Yeah.
is the guitar and piano, and it's what he's done from the Lift conference,
Yeah.
2024. And this is my favorite version.
Yeah, there's other versions. I probably haven't even listened to all the versions, but this is the first one, and there's something about when the first one
Yep,
you listen to
yep.
sometimes tends to be like, okay, that's not my
Yeah, it caught
favorite
you
version.
for a reason.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, and I just love the crowd.
Yes.
You know, I'm like, man, I'd love to be with thousands of people and all of us just singing what he's done. You know, we're gonna praise God for all that he's done. I think it's great. So.
Yeah, and it's a good song. So
Yeah.
I love the song. Sarah loves the song. So we both give it 2 thumbs up.
So you should love it too.
You should love it too. So yeah, go check it out. I mean, if you find a different version, it's probably maybe more jazzed up, you know, maybe
Yeah.
more electric stuff in it. But this one is just guitar, and then they go solo and just voices, and
Yeah,
it's
acapella.
just we want to do it at our camp, because it has that camp feel.
Yeah.
That every week you just sit around the campfire and sing a song.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there who just want to sing hymns and all that, and I appreciate that. But man, this is just a simple song that is filled with truth and goodness.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a little bit hymn-like, and I feel like it'd be great. We were growing up, we had like testimony night.
that is a
This would be
testimony.
great for a testimony night.
That's right.
But anyway.
So, well, cool. Well, thank you very much. See, this is where they start singing a
There we
cappella
go.
and just...
It's good.
Yeah, it's all good. So, yeah, go check it out. I wish we could put in the link in the description, but I always forget how to do that. But just go search what he's done from the Lifts conference, and if not, just enjoy the song with a different version, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right, thanks.
The Mike Charleston Show is brought to you by Fellowship of Believers. For more information, go to our website at fellowshipofbelievers.org. Thank you for listening. We hope we have encouraged you to stand strong in the Lord Jesus and grow in Him.